You know what? Yeah, I love that song, man. Anyway, hello everybody. Good evening. So we're here to talk about DEI versus meritocracy. So let's see if anybody's in the chat first, and I'll go take a look over there. Well, okay, people just getting warmed up, coming from work and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just go through my introductions and stuff like that, and just let people catch up. One of the things that uh, I like to get warmed up with is kind of set the stage to say, listen, I know I've talked to several people. Some people really get heated over DEI versus meritocracy or just DEI in general. Uh, some people ask, why do we need it in the first place? And some folks say if we don't have it, black people will be back eating garbage off the street because the people who own the companies and the businesses will never hire us without having being forced to do so, uh, because merit doesn't matter, only race does. So I don't know. I don't. So whether you agree with that or don't agree with it, is something that people are worried about. So it's a conversation, I guess, worth having because I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think people can have their own feelings about it, and I think we should be able to discuss it and maybe come to our own conclusions because our conclusions may differ from each other. And I it's funny. I had a conversation with my daughters yesterday over dinner about DEI, and my oldest daughter works for a human resource department, right? So she's a generalist there. And of course, human resource departments are, I guess, the hub of any DEI center. So I know where her loyalties lie. She's definitely a big proponent of DEI, and our conversation was a pretty good one. I was just saying, like, some people just can't get over the fact that it's a mandate under threat of punishment. And when you start telling people you're going to be punished if you don't do what I say, you're going to get natural pushback. At least that's what I think. I think that's how we roll. So, welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Everybody just come in, settle in, we'll have a conversation. And then whoever's ready to come up, we can get your points of view on this, and we'll just go take it from there. So before we get started into any of the details, one of the things I think we have to do, and if you're not here, you can always go back and replay and stuff like that. One of the things we have to do is go over definitions, so we're speaking apples to apples, right? And I think that's very important when we talk about DEI because we can go all over the place, and then we'll get off base just talking about things that are not relevant and or things that won't help us one way or the other. And there's a couple of videos that I'll show. The very first one is kind of tongue in cheek, and the guy is kind of hokey. And this one is off of Twitter. I think there's a TikTok guy who has a way of looking at how DEI has impacted dating in the modern era. And I think that's a pretty uh, kind of tongue in cheek, but he has a certain amount of logic. Whether people might agree with it or not, it's just something, another way of looking at how DEI impacts the availability of men, high-paying men for the women who might want them. So that's an interesting one. And the other one is the conversation between Elon Musk and Don Lemon. They specifically talk about DEI and from their own various points of view. And that's an interesting conversation. So the little clip we're going to show you is a small clip, but I would tell you at some point, go back and see the whole interview. And, not every time you get a guy like Don Lemon or anybody to be able to interview, a multi-billionaire like Elon Musk for an hour. And some people said that wasn't enough time because Elon was trying to put a time clock on it, but hey, that's an hour of a guy's time that has a lot of stuff to do, has a lot of obligations. And, the fact that he's sitting down talking to Don Lemon, I thought was a gift, and so he should have appreciated that. So, uh, So here we go. We're going to talk some definitions first so we can make sure we're talking apples and apples. All right. So we're going to break it down letter by letter. Okay. Diversity, right? And I got this from Google, and I think they got it from what they call the Oxford Languages Dictionary. And so you can go check it out yourself. So diversity, the state of being diverse, variety. I can't stand when they use the word in the definition, but that's what they say. The state of being diverse or variety. So we're talking about variety. So they use it in a sentence. There was considerable diversity in the style of the reports. Horrible sentence, but you kind of get where they're coming from. Now, the second one is more germane to what we're talking about tonight, or will be talking about tonight. And definitely, this is the point. This second definition is what we'll be chopping up. It's the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientation, etc. Right? Equality, the sentence was equality and diversity should be supported for their own sake. Yeah, I don't like the sentence, but they're saying just because equality and diversity should be supported no matter what. That's what they're pretty much saying. So this one is more germane to what we're going to be talking about. The practice of quality of inclusion. All right. So take that for what it's worth. These are the definition. Equity is next. Right. Equity. The first definition is the quality of being fair and impartial. That sounds reasonable, right? Equity of treatment, fair and impartial. The one thing that we always hear, that life isn't fair, right? There's nothing wrong with being fair and impartial. Nothing wrong with being impartial, but fairness, that's something you have to fight for, right? I think. But okay, let's just take it for the surface. The second definition is they're talking about the value of shares in a given company or the equity in your house, right? You put down your principal, and as it appreciates, you build equity. So if I combine those two definitions, this is why some people look at equity, especially from the standpoint of getting a job, right? Your equity, kind of like your share price appreciation or the appreciation on your house, your equity in terms of getting a job is your qualifications. It's the time and effort you spent being qualified for a given job, right? It's your resume. Your equity is, the fact that you're qualified for the job that you're applying to. And the thing that some people have an issue with is that you're telling them that your qualifications is not the number one thing. Your merit is not the number one thing. What's the number one thing is the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your gender, and those kind of things trumps whether you have built the equity for that job or not. So that's what some people have an issue with, right? Because equity definitely does not mean equality of outcomes. That's the last thing it should mean, or equality of opportunity. Sometimes opportunity goes for those people who deserve it. But see, that's what we're going to debate about. All right, so that one you understand that. The last one is inclusion. Now, here's my thing. I wish we could separate inclusion from diversity and equity, but we can't. It's there. It's there. That's the way they talk about it. Because I believe wholeheartedly that we should be an inclusive society, and we should have better, innovative ways to ensure inclusion without mandating under threat of punishment or threat of withholding funds or whatever the threat might be. Uh, I think it's the threat itself that makes people queasy about DEI. That's part one. The other part of DEI that makes some people queasy is it presupposes that left up to their own devices, they'll do the wrong thing. That's what it says. That unless we force you to be inclusive, you're gonna just tell everybody to lick butt, and you don't look like me, and so we're not gonna include you. Okay, so let's look at the definitions. The first definition of inclusion is the action or state of including or of being included within a group or structure, right? The federal legislation now mandates the inclusion of students who are English language learners. And that sentence means simply means that you got to be able to teach people who don't speak English as their first language. So if they were Spanish or Japanese, whatever, you have to make accommodations to teach them, even though English is not their first language. That's what that sentence means. I can take inclusion from that standpoint. The second one is a little bit more germane to what we're talking about, right? The second definition is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical or intellectual disabilities and members of other minority groups. Now, see, that's a tough one, right? Right. We value, and the sentence is we value and promote diversity and inclusion in every aspect of our business. Okay, so that's a sentence that it could be used in. But when we examine the definition of, people who are otherwise excluded and marginalized, and you chop it up with the physical and intellectual disabilities, well, yeah, we know a person who's in a wheelchair could be smart as hell. He could probably he could run a company. He could be the governor of Texas, right? He could be anything, right? Or she could be anything. The intellectual disabilities, I'm not so sure I know what that means, right? Because intellectualism goes to whether can they do the job. It's still going to come down to that. You're not going to put somebody who can't uh, logically do a job because you want to fill a quota. That shit doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make any sense to anybody else? I don't know. It's something we could talk about. But that's in the definition, right? So I see some people coming into the chat, which is good. I appreciate you being here. And so, yeah, what's up, Trey Ferg? So that's the definition of that. So let's go ahead on. And before I show a reckless, before I go to the first clip, I want to talk about meritocracy, right? So there's a few different definitions of meritocracy, right? The number one is government or holding of power by people selected on the basis of their ability. Let me read that again. Government or the holding of power by people selected on the basis of their ability. Oh, man, that sounds reasonable to me, doesn't it? Progress towards meritocracy was slow. That means they couldn't find all these qualified people they're looking for. The next one is a society governed by meritocracy is that was the short form. A society governed by meritocracy, that being people who are in charge actually know what they're doing, they belong where they belong. Okay, Britain is the sentence is Britain is a meritocracy, so they say. There'll be some people who doubt that. Britain is a meritocracy, and everyone with skill and imagination may aspire to reach the highest level. Well, the the presupposition that Britain is a meritocracy is a joke, right? Because Britain is probably just like the United States. There's some people there where some people in high levels because they belong there, and some people who don't. So it's just a sentence. And there's one more. It says the ruling or influential class of educated or skilled people. That one, some people who are pro DEI have a problem with the ruling or influential classes of educated or skilled people. So here's where the rub for DEI or the promoters of DEI come in, because they will submit to you that since we have a class system all over the world, the folks who have the best start are the people who will be in the influential places. Now, if you're from the ghetto, whether it's a white ghetto or a trailer park, you are not going to be in the ruling or influential class as easily as somebody with a silver spoon in their mouth. And that makes sense, right? That's probably a good that's probably one of the reasons why people want uh, diversity and inclusion and equity and inclusion just for that particular reason. Because without it, the ruling class would always rule and they will never give up power. And it would be hard as hell for a regular dude or dudette to break in, right? So that makes sense, right? Whether you agree with it or not, but that might be one argument for it. So, So I mean, I could look at we can. I got a clip coming up, but I got one more thing to tell you guys from just some anecdotal experience. A lot of you guys know I'm a engineer by education back in the early '70s, and we know the racial divide was a lot bigger back then than it is now. And when I got into the University of Buffalo, I got in what they call a EOP program or EOP, which was Equal Opportunity Program. Now, on the surface, you might think that was a racial program, but it wasn't. It was an economic program. It was if your family didn't have enough money to send you to college, we had some a grant or a program that helped fund you get to college. Now, most of the people who took advantage of that probably were black and Hispanic, but there were white people on that program as well because it was more black and Hispanic because we were poorer than the whites, but it wasn't just for race. It was mostly for just economics. So when I got into the university, they wanted me to take a couple of remedial classes before I could apply to engineering school. Of course, they didn't take into consideration that I went to Catholic school and I took calculus when I was in. So I took so I aced those stupid tests, and then they let me into chemical engineering school. And at that point, I was the only undergrad black engineer in the whole school, maybe around 200 people in that engineering class for chemical engineering, at all grades. And, a couple of times we had to, I heard that, only reason why I got in it was because I was black and I was holding back a spot from somebody who might have been more qualified. These people didn't know my qualifications. And I wish I knew then what I know now, because I would have told them that everybody in the school was in there as somebody else lost out because they got the job, because they got the spot. Everybody who was in the class, white, black, or indifferent, took a spot from somebody else. Everybody, right? Everybody didn't get in there because they were the smartest. It could have been because their parents were alumni of the college. It could have been their geographic location. It could have been any other factor. Yeah, one of the factors could have been merit. But, for like me, I thought mine was based on merit, right? So let's just say everybody's in the school. But here's the thing that's really important, right? Once you got into the school, everybody had to take the same exams, right? We had to take the same exams. We had to do the same assignments. We had to graduate based on merit, right? Everybody had to pass, or else you weren't going to get your degree. So there was no degrees for blacks. There was no degrees for whites. There was no degree for equity and inclusion. You just had to pass the shit that was in front of you, and you had to do well enough to get a degree. So when they put BS on chemical engineering degree with my name on it, it was because I earned that shit. Simple as that. So I know. So that's the way I tell people to look at it. If you're in, then you got to do whatever it takes to get out. So that's what I did. So, Black David, if you're there, you could play the first clip. Now, let me just tell you about the first clip real quick. It's this guy, right before you play it, it's this guy giving women the explanation on why DEI has made it a shortage of men for them. Go ahead, roll the clip.
Big enough to provide for us anymore. So we have to get out there in the workforce.
Right, because you voted for laws that give the jobs to you instead of to us. You know that, right? You have to know about this, right? Women have been saying for decades, they've been saying, we get 77 cents on the. Women want to get paid equal. They don't want to work equal. They just want to get paid equal. So they went to the government and they voted for the government to make things equal. And now that things are equal, women have raised their standards, and they're saying men can't provide anymore. You voted for that. You know that, right? The government takes money from men and gives it to corporations if they meet diversity quotas. So we are being forced to pay to put ourselves out of work so you can be equal. Men and women don't put the same amount of effort into the workplace, and so they get different rewards out of it. But women wanted to make it equal. When men made more, women could find men who made more. But now women are making more, and they can't find men who make more. But it's not because you're running faster than us, it's because you voted to redistribute the trophies. So my money goes to the government, and the government gives that money to corporations. And then when I apply for a job, the corporation says, You may not have that job. We need more women to satisfy our government free money requirements. So you want men to pay, but you voted to take away our ability to do that. You can only have two of these. You can have equal pay by law, men take care of you, and the eligible men are loyal. If all of you are going after a few guys, then the eligible guys are going to have access to lots of women. So if you want equal pay by law and men to pay for everything, y- all of you are going to be going after just this section. So if you stopped voting for money to go like that, then we would still have more money to be able to spend on you. This situation is like a dog that wants you to throw a ball, but it won't drop it. We want men to pay. Okay, let me go get a job. No, you can't have that. That's for women. We need equality. Okay, then go date the men who have more money. Where have all the good men gone? I mean, you have to know about this, right? Everyone knows this, right? Please tell me that you knew this.
All right. Okay. So that kind of sets the tone. Now, listen, whether you agree with that or not, I think the guy has a point, right? You can't have it all, or you can want it all, but it's a zero sum game. I think that's the term, right? Women, if you deserve to be in the workforce, we can argue whether you have that job by merit or not. And whether it's by merit or not, there's only a certain amount of jobs go away. So if women are doing those, none of you guys want to be bricklayers, by the way. None of the women want to go up on the electrical lines and lay wire and shit like that. They all want to be executive. They all want to be in the places where the money is being made. So let's just say you're there on merit. Well, you're going to displace some men, right? You're going to displace some men. So the men who do make it, they're going to be fewer and far in between. So you're going to have to somehow you're going to have to do what men do, marry down. There you go. You made the bed. Now you got to sleep in it or with it, whatever you want to say. So anyhow, I thought that was pretty cool because I think the guy was on point. Whether you agree with it or not, it's something to think about, and it's one of those real world things. So so let's put it to you this way: there are 30 states. Let's move on. There's 30 states that have either banned or have partial bans against DEI. And most of the red states, I guess they're mostly all red states, or whatever, or if not. So there's almost 100 bills in legislation to kind of put the kibosh on DEI in public places. That's a fact. Okay, so there's something about DEI that's troubling a tremendous uh, cross section of our population. So it's easy so when you talk about, DEI, you'll see mostly minorities and women and gays and all these people are for it. But it's the white man who pretty much thinks he's under attack, and some white women, I would imagine. even though they're going to be the biggest beneficiaries of any kind of DEI organization. They always are. If they took over affirmative action, they'll take over this as well. Everybody else will be fighting for it, but the white woman will be the number one benefactor of all of this shit. You can guarantee, bet your bottom dollar about that. So, I don't know. So, what's the solution? What's the conversation? You know, we know that Alabama and Florida pretty much banned it in all public locations. So, I read on. I have some articles that I've read, and we don't have to read the articles, but I'll just tell you about one about diversity and resilience, and some research. And this a company called the Disaster Recovery Journal, or a journal called the Recovery Journal, where they say they have receipts on why DEI is favorable, because they say it's favorable because what it does is show that diversity brings um, more benefits to a company in terms of how they handle disaster. It brings more profitability to companies and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a study on that. So I think y'all guys can go read that and say that there's some research that shows resilience is somewhat attributed to the diversity of people, diversity of thought, diversity of experiences, and there's some truth to that, right? I believe that diverse societies somehow are able to buffer against adversity better than homogenous societies, for example. There's actually some truth to that, but you got to bring receipts, and you got to show from a commercial standpoint if you could be more profitable with a diverse workforce, which some people say you will be. If that's true, then that's what government should lead with, right? Because the commercial enterprises are looking at the bottom line. They don't care if they're getting it from orangutans and shit like that, as long as I'm making money. So there's something about it on the state level. Is it just because the white man feels that they're being put upon? Maybe because the DEI presupposes that left up to their own devices, they're not going to do the right thing. I mean, this is the long and short of it. That's how they feel about it, whether that's right or not. And whether actually it's kind of true, right? It's not 100% true, but it's been proven that people feel more comfortable with the people who look like them, right? The quarterback situation in the past, before the black quarterback proved that they could play the game. One of the reasons why white owners, white coaches wanted white quarterbacks, because the intimacy of that connection between all three of them made it was comfortable. Putting a black man in a quarterback thing, where, especially in college, where you had to go to a black person's house, you had to bring that black player to your house, you introduced them to your daughters, you had to be in close proximity working with them all the time. Most white men didn't want to do that, especially owners and coaches. It was easier for them to get a blonde white boy, right? And so they could have their, N-word jokes and all that other kind of stuff without worrying about saying the wrong thing. So what happened? What changed? What made the white man decide that, this brother could play football? So maybe I'll break my barriers and be more comfortable with a black man. And I think time has changed that. I think proximity has changed that. I think the fact that our country had moved on from the worst periods of our lives has kind of changed that. Now, we'd be hard pressed to talk about how bad it is for black quarterbacks, right? There's a natural progression of things that we can see in front of our eyes. This last NFL season, there were 4 black quarterbacks and 4 white quarterbacks left vying for the Super Bowl. And we could make a case that the black quarterbacks were better because Patrick Mahomes, even if he's half black, was on the black quarterback side, right? And he's pretty much the best quarterback in the game, right? So, I think it's wrong for us to presuppose that the white man is going to do the wrong thing. And that's why we need DEI under mandate of threat. but even though we know sometimes it's true. And then I think that for Black folks, how would you feel if everybody thinks that you got your job because you're a diversity hire? Right? You wouldn't feel good about that. I mean, it's bullshit. You could tell me anything that Joy Reid, if you're familiar with her, after they struck down affirmative action, she came on the air and she said, "Hey, Reckless, let me just finish this." She came on the air, right? And she said, "I got my job because of affirmative action," and it was so disingenuous that she said that because she wanted to prove a point how important affirmative action was. I said, Joy Reid, you're full of shit. Nobody puts somebody on air just because they're Black. You got there because, such as you are, you were probably pretty good enough to give them the ratings for that time slot. So if affirmative action was in place and I was a guest and I told, "Hey, Joy, you only got this job because you're Black," she would have gave me all Black girl magic hell. That's what she would have did. I know she would have said, she would have been highly offended about it. So you can't be a hypocrite by that shit. You either got your job based on merit or you didn't. So that's one of the problems I have. What's going on, Black David? You up? Okay, cool. Hey, listen, man, what's going on, Reckless Ray? I got some more, but go ahead.
What's good, man?
All right.
Like, I hate to have to come up here and blow this up, but let's keep this a beat. The only reason that diversity, equity, and inclusion was ever needed was because we actually went through a time where they said, we ain't hiring no Black people. We are hiring no women. We are hiring nobody that isn't fitting the mold for certain jobs that are well paying.
Right.
That is not the case anymore. Why are we allowing Black quarterbacks? Because we win. They don't want to continue losing. Do you want to suck? No. Do you think a country that has evolved to the point to where we allow our population to regularly poison itself for profit is going to go, hey, if we roll diversity, equity, and inclusion back, we're just only going to hire white people? That's insane. They're literally killing us right now. Actively. For money. So you think that they're going to go, hey, we're going to... Because at no point did this allow forward mobility for white dudes in trailer parks. You weren't getting picked. No savior was coming to save white people.
Right.
Ever. And to your point about the ruling class being the ruling class, they have been forever and will be indefinitely because peasants are peasants. The entire conversation about the fear and the fear mongering and these narratives that they're spinning up that rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, you're all going to be homeless. They're just going to give no Black people jobs. Like, well, they might not hire the super wokety woke JVJ blackety black ones because I wouldn't want to work with them either. I wouldn't hire them. So you can't work in my business. Congratulations. Like, that's great. Roll that shit back. Because the reality of the situation is this exposes another layer of problems within the Black community. It's that we don't produce anything. We own nothing. Everywhere we show up with our hands out, bitching. Oh, diversity, equity, inclusion doesn't fucking matter if you own the company. Why don't we have our own stuff? Why? Why is it that we always go to someone else? And it's this American cancerous ideology. And unfortunately, Black culture has just adopted it at the core. That we have to go make someone else placate to us instead of making our own stuff. I'm sorry for cussing, but seriously, this is the conversation in and of itself is from like all you are. You just hold on. Let me get my hat. Somebody better give me something. Somebody better, you gotta change it so I can have something too. Like, what is this? When did it become noble to be pathetic? When has that ever in history been the thing to do, to be prideful of your patheticness, to suck so bad and wear it as a badge of honor. Like, I'm the biggest victim in this room. Someone give me some shit. It's insane. It is insane. What this is going to do, the producers are not going to have a problem at all.
Right.
I work in a predominantly white field. I am not a diversity hire because they just don't have people of color around unless they're the crew that's putting on the roof or painting the walls. I have zero problems. I got white people constantly making me offers for jobs because I work, because I'm the fucking best. Just be good. Be the best. Show up on time. Don't smell like weed. Present yourself well. Work hard.
What did BMU just put up there? What did he put up there? After 1 year, it's passed out.
Facts. Facts. And you know what? It's true. It's true. But what's funny is I would say the majority of black wealth is passed down too, but the next generation just blows it all because they don't know shit about how to manage money.
Right.
Whose fault's that? The white man didn't come unteach us. They didn't take the internet away. Y'all get on here. You want to be engaged in this gender war. You want to talk about everything but your finances. Right. There's a reason that black wealth that gets passed down goes away the next generation because you don't teach anyone anything. And then when I bring it up, apparently I'm the asshole for doing something because I'm not out making a bunch of baby mamas so that someone can extract resources, and I'm actually using it for my own family. And I'm not, and I look at my own family as the whole of it, not just the kids that I'm going to make one day. But I'm the problem. No, what is going to happen is my family is going to leaps and bounds be ahead of the rest of your families, and I'm teaching them to not help y'all. Like, that's the first rule, is we take care of ours, the people that we adopt into our family, the people that we choose to consider family. We pour into them, the ones that are trying. I'm not setting my family up to walk anywhere with that. The diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation is never going to happen in my household, ever, because it's not going to be necessary.
Hey, man, but BMU, man, you putting up these guys are exceptions. They're not even the rule in the white community.
It's called the 1% for a reason. What about the other 99% of white people? Like, where are they at? Am I gonna have to start live streaming from trailer parks for you? Like, what do you want me to do? I can show you some poor whites if you need to see them. They exist here.
What you got, man? What you got?
I hate to say it, but reckless rate is correct. But here's where I get really sick beyond tired. For almost 2 years on the Black YouTube street, we have been complaining. We want our own this. We want our own that. We need our own this. We need our own that. Before segregation was taken down, right? We did have a lot of black corporations, right? Why would we don't even have a lot of black business, black corporate? Because when you try to apply for a job in these white corporations, you cannot get into your black corporation, your black businesses, so you can compete. So when they took down segregation and tried to have inclusive, what the problem is? You can have the qualification, you were never good enough for the simple fact that what? You wasn't white. They had a documentary on Netflix about the first black female congresswoman who got in, who was trying to run for office, named Shirley. And there was a clip I saw where this man always harassed her. How does it feel to make 42.5 every day? And I think people don't really, you know what? I'm not gonna be like Reckless Way. You have too many dick shit who don't read history books, who don't know their history. Who can be, oh, the affirmative action, this and that, don't work for us. It was created for us for the simple fact they knew that if they was not existent, what was the chance of you applying for a job knowing that they're gonna look at you and look at your skin, even though you're overqualified for the position? That'll get someone who's underqualified to be above you. Let's answer that question. Why did every corporate job you be out there, you gotta work maybe 2, 3, 4 times harder than your non-black counterpart? Explain that to me. because it seemed to me like Record Ray that too many weed head, crackhead, crack baby, messed up individuals who don't have the sense of logic to comprehend. Now, Candace Owen, I don't think she fully comprehended either because she says she went to school for journalism, but never used her journalism degree to actually do their proper investigation instead of doing ass kissing
Mhm.
for the other side until they say, Candace Owen, we don't need you no more. So we give you your pink slip, bye bye.
Well, that's
And
not
there's too
good.
many. No, hold on. I'm
That's
not done. I'm not done. There's too many
oh
dipshits.
boy. You better
There's
leave
too.
Candy Yams alone.
Yeah, you leave my girl Candy alone. But go ahead, Black Dave. Go
No,
ahead.
I'll be honest. There's too many dipshits out here who never took the time when they're in high school, listen to history class, open a book and do their investigative reporting and look deep what was going on before they were even born to freaking understand why it happens. So when they say we don't need a affirmative act, okay, fine. Let's go by merit. What is the chance of you getting to a place whereby you had a degree, you had a qualification, you had the experience, but rather hire someone who don't look like you, who's non-black, with less experience than you have, and he's above you and he's your manager? How will you feel about that? It's going on every day, doesn't it? Does it not?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But when time to quit our black corporation, how many people support black business today?
but
Let's keep
Dave,
that one in.
before you move on from that, let me ask you a question, Black Dave. Whether we have DEI or not, you're going to find people who are working for people less qualified.
Yeah.
I mean, that DEI doesn't solve that problem.
Well,
Matter of fact, let me just finish. And people who have merit, they find a way to take advantage of the equity they've built in their lives.
mhm.
I'm serious. They don't care. They don't necessarily think that because one door is closed, there's no other doors that they can open. Right? That's where we got to get to, man. I mean, I understand that folks think under force of pressure and punishment, you got to make people be diverse. But the truth of the matter is, if diversity has the benefits and qualities that people say it does, you shouldn't have to force it, especially commercially.
Well, I
But
don't think that it's not. It's that we went through a period where we needed to force it, and then we just left those laws. Like people still enacted those laws after the fact because
let me finish.
it's
Let me
those same
finish,
people
Ray.
who say anything that happens to me is because I'm black.
No, let me finish though, Ray, because what I'm
Sure.
saying is this. Right? I agree with what you just said, but what I'm saying is at some point we gotta let the experiment run. Okay, we
Yeah.
got these states, we got these states saying that we want to get rid of diversity and equity. Right? In a year or two, we'll start having data that says that all of a sudden the black unemployment rate or the minority or unemployment rate went up 10, 20, 30% because of this. And I don't think we'll see that. Like for
No.
example, if I'm a commercial enterprise and I have a front-leaning organization where I have
Yeah.
to talk to different people,
Yep.
I'd be stupid not to have Hispanics in my as part of my front-leaning organization because you know why? Because a lot of people speak Spanish, right? So that'll help even if I'm white owned or black owned, if I don't have somebody who could talk to the population that's around them,
Yeah.
that's not going to benefit me.
Right. Right.
So I'm just saying there's some natural reasons why diversity is a good thing, and that's what we should concentrate on. So people do it voluntarily because it's good business.
Well, I don't even think it. I don't think it matters if you're look. I reference this back to the way that they do it with the hedge funds and how they manage your pension and the lackluster ability that they've been doing recently. And it's because they have quotas for the people that they have to hire. They have to have a certain number of women. They need to have a certain number of minority women. They need to have a certain number of minorities, period. It has nothing to do with if they're good at managing the money. I don't care if it's the Klan running the office. I want my profits. I don't care. I don't care what the office looks like. If you're making me 40% a year on my portfolio, let's go. You can wear the hood to the office. I don't give a shit. Manage my money. It doesn't. This is the problem. The
Yeah.
best people to do the job should do the job. Now, if you are good at the job, then that is what's going to matter. Obviously, there's networking and likability. That's a big part of it too. And when it gets to a certain point, networking and likability matters more than how skilled you are, because there's really no such thing as a skill of being a CEO until someone's a CEO and they're successful.
Okay.
You're just managing people. You're telling people what to do, looking at numbers and making decisions. We all do that every day. I would say the best indicator is, how are your personal finances? If your finances are jacked up, I don't want you running my business. But there's no way to say, hey, this person has a skill. Look at all these modern women right now talking about men need to step up, when I have no degree and I'm worth more than, I'd say, 85% of them. If we were to sit down and compare assets to assets, because I know how money works, I don't have to go get a piece of paper to sign a check to have someone work for me. Those are facts.
What?
You're going to show up to a job, which is funny, because you know what else is hilarious? I could own a hospital. Have a whole bunch of doctors come in. I could own a hospital if I had enough money. I could open one. Go in, get some partners. I can own a hospital with no degree. I can own it. I sign your check. You went to school, collected debt, went to school for 8 years for my dumb ass to sign your check. This is reality. You're renting a house. Could be from me. Complaining about how you have to move because the rent's going up. I control, like, that's the issue with the diversity, equity, and inclusion thing, is they've got us competing to be the best slaves. And we don't understand the game that's being played. We're not getting any equity or any inclusion. You're getting opportunities to be better slaves, to be higher paid slaves. You have no power. Nothing that's come up in this conversation thus far has talked about policy change, getting some politicians, lobbying, any of the machinations of power that have gotten things to
Reckless Ray, look, hold on just a sec. Yeah, Reckless Ray. Look, what's up, y'all? What's up, Black David? What's going on? Payne in the building. Hey, listen, Anissa just said something. She said, if you believe that the best person should get the job, then all you need to be encouraging these black men to go to college. Anissa, there are men. Let me get it right.
Okay, you can have that one.
Anissa, I'm telling you right now, college has damn near worn itself out. There's so many other ways to learn these jobs other than going into debt and going to college for 4 and 5 years. There are people that have never graduated nothing but high school making more money than college graduates.
Look, right here, Anissa, right here. And I'm in better shape than all of you. So
it's crazy.
What do you say? What do you like?
It's funny though. It's funny. Everybody was gonna jump on that comment. Hey, Anissa, keep them coming, because I like comments like that. But can I be on Anissa's
side a little bit, since we're all in disagreement? Because I want a devil's advocate, because I don't want to beat up on Anissa. I do enjoy.
No. I like those comments.
But this is the deal. Y'all are sending these kids to college with no aim, no ambition, and no go, telling them to follow their dreams and go do what they want to do. No. That's the reason y'all are getting the most degrees and you're in the most debt. And the black men who are following that played out model, probably instilled by their mothers, sorry, but they're following that model and they're ending up in debt with you. And then you're wondering where all the good men are, because you got a piece of paper that says you're smart that's worthless and a house in debt.
Well, hold on, Reckless. Let's put a bow on this thing.
Okay.
A lot of men are not going to college because they do the numbers, and they're finding a way to compensate that without getting into that. That they're going to trade school, they're going to other schools like that, and getting a skill that they can market, so they don't have to waste time and go into debt. And a lot of women, the smart women out there, understand that just because a guy doesn't have a degree doesn't mean he's worthless. I mean, some of these guys are making good money because they're good with their hands, and in good times and in bad times, they know how to make a buck.
Yep.
And that's much better than waiting for somebody to give you a goddamn job. So that's where the black men are going. They're going to practical enterprises because college is no longer practical for a lot of men. And that's it. And or for women, once y'all learn that, Well, go ahead. You can go.
Okay.
No, let me deal with it
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
when I see
David?
this type of statement, I want to ask myself how many times I repeat this answer for how many years. When you refer to Nigerian, you refer to the Asian, you refer to Indian. Do you even think about what the people are telling their kids to study or focus on? They're not doing bachelor's degree. That's number one. That is not possible. They would have told Nigerian, either you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or you're a banker. They put you in fields that sure guarantee that makes money. The Indians are doing the same thing similar, but they want engineers and scientists as well. They're trying to build people up who will build the society they want to acquire. Meaning more of their people are going to STEM program as well with Nigerians and Asian are doing that. They're not doing no what do
They're not doing soul searching. They ain't going to college
no
soul searching and
what
shit. You
those
know what I'm
dumbass
saying?
degree they be doing?
I don't know.
Sociology, what would the nonsense be doing? Because I've been trying to comprehend.
Underwater Black Studies or whatever the shit they're doing. Man.
Those
So,
things don't do shit. It does not. Well, every time they make that statement, I say, how many people are going to engineering among our black people? How many people are going to computer? How many people are going to construction? Construction make money. You don't have to get a degree in that. But who run the construction corporation that making million and billion of dollars? Because they know that very, very well too.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Let's go into the man. There's so much I can say, but I'm trying not to lose my temper.
Don't lose your temper, man. It's just
No,
conversation.
I know it's a
It's
conversation, but this right here, they don't speak the in-depth situation. How many black parents sit their kid down and say,
Not
"Don't
enough.
chase your dream. Get a degree that will guarantee you to build up your capital, so that when you have more than enough capital, you do what you want afterward." How many black parents do that?
Not enough.
None.
Well, not none, but not
Now,
enough.
I say none because it's the majority of them that are doing that.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you look at a man
there's too
who
many
did
there's
exactly
too many
that.
rainbow bright idiots in college campus trying to understand who they are, what stupid ass gender they are. I'm sorry, I don't do those things.
Can you do me a favor and say, I don't know if you have anything else to say, Record. Right now, I wanted to play that other video.
Let's go.
Remember now, 39:15 on that second video to 42:55.
Dang it. Damn it.
Yeah,
Do you
just
think
click.
if you
That's good. Just click. You don't have to be exactly. Just click.
moderate yourself more?
Just let
I
it
don't
play,
have
man. From 39:15.
to answer
You'll
questions
get
from
there.
reporters. Don, the only reason I've been in this interview is because you're on the X
Skip it.
platform and you asked for it. Criticize Russell. And I think that, and I think that when you have a platform that's as big as yours and as powerful as yours and as influential as yours, and you are a person of we have a responsibility to adhere to the law, and if people want the law changed, they should talk to their elected representative and get the law changed, and then we will adhere to the
Did we lose sound?
Yeah, something wrong with the video there. So
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all doing Elon dirty.
I think Black David froze too.
Oh yeah, he just looking down very like
Yeah,
intent.
he's froze. I tell you this. So at this clip, Lemon asked Elon Musk specifically about what he thinks about DEI. And that conversation goes on for a little while, and it's pretty interesting, that back and forth in that clip. And it's too bad we're having technical difficulties on that.
Right.
If you put it together. So here's the issue. Lemon was telling him, Elon Musk made a comment that he doesn't want doctors who got into med school based on, lowering the standards, right? Because somebody's going to die. Lemon said, well, there's no truth to that, right? Well, the truth of the matter is there are studies that show that they took away MCATs for some altogether. Some entry. And the MCATs are not like the SATs. They're not like the ACTs. The MCATs do measure, they measure your ability to complete med school. Specifically, And without that, you don't get a measure of whether this person can take the information they learn as a medical student and apply it in real life under the circumstances that they're going to have to apply it.
Right.
And so when he was telling Elon that he was wrong about that, Elon was right. He just didn't want to argue with him. Right? Because he didn't have the data right in his hand. But there's studies after studies talking about getting rid of, from school after school, getting rid of the MCATs. Now, so where Elon went wrong was when he started talking about the airline pilots, even though I think that one incident that he talked about, about the lady who successfully landed a plane after the door blew off and shit, right? He was trying to say she was he equated a black person being a pilot to DEI. We don't know, because you got to have some evidence for that, right? Well, if you're going to make that kind of claim. And in the end, she did land the plane safely, the Boeing plane. Now, Boeing has an issue, period. They're having some issues, period. I don't think that has anything to do with DEI. I think they have some issues with the engineering, some issues. Greed is, I think, their biggest problem. So.
Well, I mean, the deal is she landed the plane, so that's a non-starter argument. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that's a worst case scenario. The door comes off. She landed the plane. So it doesn't matter how or why she got there. She did the freaking job that was expected. She performed the task. So I got nothing. I got no smoke for that woman. I think it's stupid to posit that as a talking point, even because she completed the task under the worst case scenario. She didn't put the door on. Now she put the door on too. Then we got a conversation.
The problem is when we had these type of argument, we want to blame people based on race or color or sex if they can do the job. It's mostly the brain that speaking that kind of way. Every airline pilot has to go through rigorous training before they get qualified to be a pilot. We have too many dodo bird in today's societies who don't need to be running their mouth in the first place.
Dude, see, if I was Don Lemon, I would have went full woke on him. I would have been like, okay, sir, why did the white man give the black woman the broken plane? What's up with that? Why can't we get good planes?
Oh, now
right? Why of all the Boeing planes, the black woman got the plane with the door that fell off, huh?
With the defective door, right?
And let me add to that. No, you have car fact, you should have plane fact. I'm trying to have plane facts that know that the door is messed up, but they kept quiet. Let's see how you handled this broken plane. Let's talk about that.
No, let me tell you what I'd like to. Even though people chose sides, I thought when you get a chance to interview a multi-billionaire, one of the richest men in the world for an hour, you should take that for more relevant questions to some of the shit he was asking.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
it's the agenda. I think he knew he went in there intentionally botching that interview to try to get Elon out on some stuff. Now, Elon, we all know he got a touch of the tism, so I can let the black woman playing comment go because he fixing everything else. And like I said, like we judge based on results, but like all that interview was an opportunity to pull something out of him so that they could get their I got you. You see, he's fixing everything and trying to fix the planet, but he a racist, so we don't like him. Like, all right.
Well,
like
up to and including Don Lemon trying to play victim after he got a $24 million check, and he's trying to say, "Well, I'm a victim of racism." I say, Don,
hold on. Let me just say this.
Wait a second.
That argument they fire him for, where that idiotic politician was saying that dumb bullshit. The dude from India, never been in the U.S. long enough to understand what the heck is going on, and he was saying that black people got it easy through the Jim Crow era, which was kind of like disrespectful.
What guy you talking about, Vivek?
It happened on CNN. I watched that interview and I was like, really? They let that one slide?
I don't know who you talking about.
There was a politician who was running for president and he lost.
You talking about Vivek Ramaswamy?
Whatever his retarded name is.
Okay. I don't know.
He was saying something about how black people got it easy through the Jim Crow era, but he don't know what black people are going through. Jim Crow era.
Right.
Okay. And well, I mean, I'm saying it based on historian. That was disrespectful.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it, but I can't see him saying something so stupid.
He did on live TV.
Listen, I 100% believe he said it because I mean, you got to think about it. Most people who come to this country, I mean, even other people that I like, Patrick Bet-David said some stupid stuff to Roland Martin when he was on his show, told him to go back and fix his neighborhood when his dad literally ran out of the country that he was in without fixing it for him to come live here. These people they come here under circumstances because it's easier for them here because they weren't the ones who went through it. Like if Vivek had to go back, there's a reason Vivek's here and not in India because there's a caste system there. And I guarantee you his family wasn't at the top of it or they'd still be there because it's great if you're at the top. So the premise, and I've said this multiple times and people get upset about it, but to be honest, most immigrants that are here are losers. Regardless of how smart they are losers in the sense that their ideology and their political beliefs and where they were in the system in the country that they came from, they could not win there. So they came here because the opportunities are better here. Because the stuff that's happening to them where they were was happening to our ancestors physically here. Now, I'm not going to argue that. My issue is in 2024, that's not an excuse for you to personally suck since it didn't happen to you because you read about it. I don't care if you read about it and got upset. That's not an excuse for you to throw your whole life away and crash out over something that didn't happen to you specifically. Exactly. Now, when it comes to immigrants talking trash about what happened to us historically, I get hot about that because I'm like, you came here because you couldn't win where you were. So therefore, regardless of how much smarter than me you are a loser because you couldn't win where you was at. Otherwise, you would have never came here. You couldn't fix your neighborhood. Don't tell me to go fix mine.
I spoke about that several times before. I said that is the problem with a lot of people who come to this country. You read about it, but you don't really dig into it. You better have a better understanding before you open your mouth and say the wrong thing.
Facts.
That has been a known issue when it comes to immigration. Yeah, you got to study till you can pass to get the naturalization. That is fine. After that, don't study anymore. But when you hear or see something, you just pick and choose what you want to say, like it's some kind of Chinese buffet, and throw it in a blender, make some kind of retarded smoothie, and say this is exactly what it is when it's not.
It's revisionist history.
Bingo.
It's funny. I had my daughters were over yesterday for dinner, right? And we started talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And my oldest daughter works for a human resource department. So DEI is what they're all about, right?
Yep.
So she's arguing for DEI. And my other daughter, she's younger. So they both gang up on me, right? And I said, well, how the hell did you guys get so goddamn liberal, right? I mean, because I'm your dad, right? I'm kind of conservative and shit. She said, because they almost said in units, because we're privileged. I said, what do you mean, because you're privileged? I said, what do you mean, because you're privileged? You guys ain't privileged. She said, hey, Dad, we're privileged. You got we don't have no debt. We got money, we got investments, we got all this shit. And most of our friends don't even have fathers and shit. We're privileged. I said, man, I listen, Jody, you're not privileged. And my oldest daughter said, listen, Dad, I appreciate your humility. Because we're privileged as hell. And it was funny. And they're liberal as hell too, because I sent them to these liberal ass colleges where they got indoctrinated shit. And I said, man,
that's your fault. You didn't vet the college. You did not vet the college before you send them down.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're gonna have to send them out into the world. But that's why I tell people, have dinner with your family, man. The conversation was great, man. And he was tripping me out. I said, you ain't privileged. I was just doing what I had to do as a man. Well, we said we're privileged as hell. That shit was funny, man. And your kids telling you they're privileged. I don't feel privileged. Shit. Anyway, that's neither here.
And the reason they say you are privileged because they don't understand the struggle you have to go through to build that foundation. So in their mind, they are privileged.
I heard all that shit from them. You have to worry
because
about
that's the same thing in Africa. Because those who came from the prominent family, their parent or their grandparent had to build a foundation for the wealth they enjoying. They don't have to do much, and they're able to enjoy the privilege life that have been given to you by the hard work of those before them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Reckless Way is doing right now, he's building a foundation. The next generation behind him, or the next two generations behind him, they'll be feeling kind of privileged because of what he put in first anyway. That is the issue whereby, unless you're diligent about teaching the history and the source of their wealth coming from, let them know, don't let it go to your head. You got to have respect for those who built it in before you and pass it down to the next generation. That's something that's not being taught in Black community.
Right. We're also not teaching how to steward it. Like there's a difference in what I'm doing because I'm not giving anybody shit. No one's getting anything from me. And honestly, like if you don't fit the bill, they're not going to get access to the money. Period. Like I will cut the cancer out myself and I'll be that asshole. I'm that asshole uncle because it matters that much to me that the next generation that gets handed it down to, there's an expectation that you are going to do better than me with this trampoline that you're on. Not that you get to go, hey, stuff's easy for me. I just got money and I'm just going to exist here. Like I said, I'm doing what the Fords are doing. I'm incentivizing the family structure that I want. And there will be money and monetary benefits ascribed to it based on how successful I am. But the initial first couple of generations, they're going through the boot camp with me. You are starting at 10, like it or not. We have in this meeting about your portfolio. You're going to learn how to manage this portfolio. You're going to make money in this portfolio and you're going to lose money in this portfolio. And we're going to work through it so that when you turn 18 and this gets handed over to you, you know what to do with it. You will graduate from high school with your high school diploma, whatever, and a skill that you will be able to carry the rest of your life, which means that starting that early, as long as you have some income, even if you don't do anything else but manage that portfolio, you should be straight. You should be retiring around 30 at worst. You have a skill, and like we're not doing that. We're not passing, like my aunt's starting to do it. Like my niece, they're in hospital. She's real big in hospital. She's a C-suite in hospital. They've got a gateway there. She's grooming my niece's daughters to get into nursing. They're going to be good nurses and or doctors.
Right.
Standards, passing the skills down.
That's what I'm doing for my family. That's for sure. I started with my daughters. I got a couple of nieces and nephews under there too. So,
and that's something what African, like Indian, and Asian are doing. They're not doing what Black people. This is why people miss the ideology behind those things. They don't. No, let me tell you what I'm saying. They want to create silo of themselves and make an echo chamber so they can hear themselves sound stupid. But they never tried to go out there and ask questions. How will your family able to build something like this? What can I learn from you so I can get to that next level? Reckless Way have been saying several times on the platform.
Yeah.
How he started, he got to learn from someone who's not looking like him and learn the game.
Yep.
How often have black people even tried to do that in the first place?
I tell you, listen. There's really no excuses, right? Because we try to rest on the broken families and all that, but we've had the generation all the way up until half of the Gen Xers who were married couples, baby boomers who are still alive. There's really no excuse that we didn't pass down some of the things that we've learned in mass, right? I mean, that's a hit that because the reason why I get so defensive, because that's exactly what I did. But I can't stand the fact that, it's not the rule and it's mostly the exception. Or else more people will be doing what I did. Right. I mean, and I don't know what to say about that part of it, because it just seemed natural to me that once my kids got out of school, they came back home. I said, if you're not married, you ain't going nowhere. Come back home and let's go ahead and stack some dollars, man, and some investment. We sit down every quarter. Like even after the conversation with my daughter last night, my oldest, she asked me, well, is Kirkland, something I can invest in, because she likes to go to Costco. I said, well, I think they're a private company. I believe they're private. Then we found out that Apple's being sued by the DOJ for
that was coming.
So for monopoly. So, but she has a lot of Apple stock. I said, we're gonna have to be talking about this, see where the wind's going.
That one was coming a long time ago. The problem with
but it's
that
stupid,
guy.
though. I think it's really stupid.
They've been doing that for so long. People are just like, oh, nothing gonna happen to them. It's fine. But trust me when I say it, what they were doing. You know what happened to AT&T when they got so big and it was forced to break into a couple of sections?
I was alive. I was but you know what, man? But the justification that Garland was saying up on the stand there was kind of, I thought it was like petty shit.
No, it was
I
not.
thought it was petty.
Not.
But
No,
I don't
it's
know.
not.
We don't have to go down that.
No, I understand, but it's not
petty.
petty.
Reckless Ray. That's a Reckless Ray show right there. Man.
Let's talk about Bell Atlantic. Let's talk about Bell Atlantic before you had all these different factors. They did the same exact thing before they were forced to break up. Then why they put them all back under one umbrella again?
But AT&T didn't have competition like the Android.
No, AT&T were preventing other companies to get into the market.
No. You're missing my point. But AT&T at the time didn't have competition like the Android. I mean, it's not like they don't have competition. It's not like Apple doesn't have competition.
What happened to MCI? Where are they now?
No. They sued them before MCI. They broke them up before. That's why MCI was able to come into existence.
Well, it's more or less, most of that case seemed like it was more or less around them. They built a really good moat around their ecosystem to where they were doing little petty stuff. The green bubbles. Like, I have an iPhone now. I was an ardent Android person until the iPhones upgraded to where basically it's the same thing. Apple's ecosystem is way more fluid because you're only dealing with the one device, but it's like the transitioning in and out is a pain in the butt. Like, I had to redo my contacts. Like, the way that my contacts are saved in Apple isn't as good as the Android experience as far as the fluidity of the contacts. But moving back, like, they made it to where it's like, it's blatantly obvious. Like, when you have an iPhone and then you see the people who have green messages, you're like, oh, like, okay.
And on top of that,
let's try to DEI the technology.
And as a technician who have configured a lot of phones in corporate office, iPhone have more issue synchronized with the corporate business server than that of Android. They always got issue almost every 2 or 3 months, to the point where you have to update the server. You got to reconfigure the whole Android phone. You only do one time. You don't hear nothing from no Android user.
So you're making a case why this goddamn case is illegitimate. You're making a case that
no, it's not illegitimate. There are a lot of practice they're doing that it's almost like they sabotage it. They want people to step up too hard. They want to do things, right? Perfect example. If you're selling phone to a corporate business and they say that the standard would have for security protocol, and the Apple said, no, you got to do it based on our standards. Now, a lot of business owners say, no, take F your phone, you go to somebody else, because you don't even know how to change our security protocol to protect our business. But when you want to implement iPhone into your corporate business infrastructure, there's always a lot of issue along the way. That's
But
why
then
I'm
don't
saying
use an
Apple is a
iPhone.
headache.
But then don't use an iPhone. What's going on?
It's hard. No, it's hard to say don't use the iPhone. Get a bunch of crying ass
I know,
entitled employee.
I know.
I want to use my iPhone for this.
Yeah. Okay, Amy Stillman and Trey Ferg. Okay, let's get back on topic. You got something on the topic, or did you come up to talk technology, man?
I came up because I heard you talking about AT&T not having no competition, and I believe that you are incorrect, sir, because they competed against GTE and Sprint.
Well, that's a local level stuff, right?
No, GTE was nationwide, so was Sprint.
Okay, well, I was wrong. So, yeah, but let's not go down that path. But I wanted to say, what do you have on the DEI subject?
DEI, it's set up specifically so people don't have to compete and they can have things just handed to them. That's what it's for. Straight up. I literally was watching a stream the other day where there was a couple women on there talking, and that's what how the woman herself even described it, what it was and what it was for. She said she didn't want equality. She wants equity and inclusion.
Yes.
You know?
Equality of outcomes. Equality. That's what they want.
Because with equality, that means that you're competing on the same level and at the same degree as everyone else, and it's the best of the best actually get chosen. And with equity, you don't have to do that. Basically, the way she put it was like, say I have a husband who's making $100,000 a year, and then I'm making $40,000 a year, right? Well, why should I have to pay 50-50 if he's making $100,000 and I'm making $40,000? You know, there should be some kind of it should be prorated to where it actually meets our income coming in.
Right.
You know, and that tells me that you're not wanting to compete at the same level. That tells me that you see an apartment for $1,200 and you're single, then you think that it should be prorated to where you only have to pay $400 for it because you're only making $40,000 a year.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm with you. What happened to Trey Ferg? He dropped out. He came up and dropped out. But I hear you. Listen.
Oh, there he is.
The white man ran him off, man.
I don't think so. Well, what you got, Trey, on the subject, man? Trey Ferg, what you got on the subject, man? I know you were here, so what's happening?
You know, I've been listening. Can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How's it going, Trey?
How y'all doing, fellas? Hey, man, I've been listening in the background for the last 45 minutes. Reckless Ray, you was recklessing. Yeah, I heard you. I know you like slapping us over the head with your accomplishments.
With facts.
With your accomplishments. But,
it's not my accomplishments. It's just
listen,
facts. You can do it too.
Listen. Ray, I'm not saying that I'm not doing it. I'm just saying that, you know, we don't want to know how much you balling out there. Just ball, man. Just write a book. Write a book. Put it in the book. They'll tell you, Ray, you too passionate. Put it in the book. They'll listen. Because it can be done. I agree with you. I mean, just some of these things, man, just goes to show again. Living in America, you're a brother. You'd better focus on getting your shit together. You got to, because you can see the diaspora was changing. Yes, women want to pay, but physically, biologically, psychologically, they can't handle the stress that comes with that hard work. Only we are built for that. And you see, they put Don Lemon to ask Elon Musk those questions and push it like, no, see, it cannot. Elon is a man. He was like, no, it ain't that way. But even in that capacity, it's all gonna hit ahead, man. The next election is gonna change everything. So if you ain't trying to,
let's hope so.
Right now, it's about grabbing hold of your future, whether it's financially, you know, as far as securing a stake in land or whatever it takes, you know, really to thrive in America. But it's man, I don't even know how to comment on it because we just going broke as people. We still big consumers of nothing. They not putting nothing out there in the streets to buy and sell. And America's not rebuilding it itself. So it's going to all burn itself up at some point. So I don't know, man. You know, our pain, I understand it because technology's taking over those animated jobs that people could do. Technology is now doing it. So that eliminates the woman's job. She's not going to hang off the side of the crane at the side of the skyscraper. You know, so, and it's a great time for man to get those skills, take advantage of those skills, man. And I'll say this, now that they've voted out affirmative action in a sense, the minority is a woman, and the minority does not have to be of the United States. So somebody's going to lose.
Yeah.
Well, they just voted out affirmative action as far as colleges go, right?
Well, it's going to apply to everything, not just college now, even certain careers.
But my
Because
question is, I'm
real
sorry.
quick, the corporations are still going to require an individual to have the certifications from the colleges of America or the trade schools. You're going to even if you study YouTube and learn all the skills without an accredited certification from whether it's trade, college, whatever, that's registered, then it does not apply to America.
Well, as a black man, wouldn't you rather have a job given to you on merit rather than because they got to meet a quota?
Let me say this.
Both.
The answer to that is yes. The meritocracy is yes. But I did have a question for Angry Snowman, and it is because you're a white guy up here.
That's fair.
Okay, yeah. So, do you think one of the biggest issues with some, especially white men, about DEI is the fact that it presupposes that white men left up to their own devices are going to do the wrong thing?
I don't know if it's necessarily that.
Yeah, go ahead. You understand what I'm saying, right?
I understand what you're saying. I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think it's more so that with DEI, it seems like that specifically straight white males are just being overlooked altogether for job placement.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because
that's kind of what but I'm talking about from the ownership standpoint. If you still own, white men still predominantly own the big corporations and shit like that, right? So the question is from that angle. If left up to their own devices, will they just say, okay, just like I'm gonna just hire people who look like me? You think we're still in that era, or you think that era is gone?
Personally, I think that most people, depending on where you're at in the country, you're going to hire people that tend to look like you and have the same kind of ideology as you, because you're going to feel it's going to me, it seems like it would feel like a safer bet and less of a gamble on your company. You know what I'm saying?
So then how do you get past the men? Because that's true across the board for all kinds of people, women especially, right? But let me ask you, but then how do you get past the fact that left to their own devices, people are going to be comfortable with folks that look like them, think like them? And if the majority of the population who owns the big corporations are mostly white, then do people have a point to be nervous that if we, I'm just throwing this out there, so don't presuppose.
Oh no, dude, I don't take nothing personal.
So do you? So how do you get past it without having a mandate like DEI?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, the question is do we really want to have to force people to do that?
No, I don't like that idea. But
well, the reason why I ask that is because is that going to foster a healthy work environment by forcing people to hire people that they don't feel are suitable for the job?
Not if it's by force. But let me also say, do you agree? And I'm asking for the rest of you guys, just hang out for a second. Do you agree, or do you think? What do you think about the fact that some folks, white folks and black folks, think that a diverse workforce is more resilient than one that's monolithic or homogeneous? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I can see where in some instances, maybe some fields that might be so.
Okay.
But I think there might be other fields where, that isn't necessarily the case. It depends on where you're working, what field you're working in, what kind of job it is, what skills are required.
I agree with that. And let me tell you why I agree with that. When I found out that the fired commissioner in New York was a woman who probably doesn't know how to strike a match, in charge of 13,000 men and hunting them down because they booed the AG, I thought that's bullshit. A man in that position, black or white, would never hunt down his firemen because they booed somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. What the hell is a woman being in charge of that many men for in the first place? I have a big issue with that kind of shit.
As you should, in all honesty. I mean, because the woman, for one, she can't even relate to her workforce. There's nothing that she's went through in life to where she can understand. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not.
So she's already going to come at it with like a biased opinion and, and look at it as if it's her against them.
Exactly. So I mean, everybody could add in, but that's just.
So
I just wanted to ask them a couple. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, this is just a baseline. The results are the results. Like the companies, look at what's going on with the diversity hires right now. They're all getting fired because they sucked. This only, and like Ferg said, somebody's going to lose. It's going to be the losers. But you know what? The losers are going to lose in the financial system too. That's the reason there's poor people. Like y'all lost. You're losing.
Well, like
it's what it is. Like no one, listen, this is the facts. No one went and took money out of anyone's pocket, period, outside of a specific sect of jobs that apparently everybody wants because there's the appearance of affluence for those jobs. That's the reality of the situation. I don't have this issue with any of the blue collar, supposedly racist, blue collar working dudes. We out here killing it.
Well, and I agree with that because
if you know how money works, you're going to go where the money is. If everyone's in the office dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know where they're not? Building stuff. You know what you still need? Shit built.
Right.
Or maintaining stuff because things need maintained too, and this country's failing on that.
Hold on. Let me add to that one because when this diversity conversation they add on to who's actually doing the job, even based on America, there's some people in the corporate sector are doing way more than other people. Like one person doing a workload for 4 or 5 people. But for some apparent reason, they're not being noticed. But that one little person that did one little thing, you get a promotion, really? And you have this person come up and train this loser to do the job that this person have been doing for so long, who've been qualified for that position, but you wouldn't promote them because of diversity?
Well, not only that, if you look at the people that are wanting, they're on their soapbox trying to push this diversity and equity inclusion thing. You ever notice that the only jobs that they're after are the top, percent profitable jobs? You never see them wanting to be the head of these shit jobs, like being a sewer worker or being a sanitation worker or something. You never see them fighting for that. Where's the equality in that? Why is it only the top 1% of jobs that you want equity in?
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. We got one of the Johnny on the spot cleaners. They got like one chick that works there now, and she is garbage, dude. She don't clean them porta potties well. But but that's how bad things have gotten though. Like no one's winning at this because we're doing this in phases, and it's gonna shift back the other direction. I'm not worried about people not like the whole conversation of people want to hire people that look like them. At this point is stupid. It's an asinine statement to even make unless you're a fucking loser. Like your company will just go out of business because some other white person will set up shop across the street and be like, he's hiring all the dumb white people. Let's hire everybody else. Now you're out of business. We're not in a state to where you can even afford to be racist on that level. Like it's suicide. It's financial suicide. And it just is what it is. And you can tell because when they force them to hire the minority, the diversity, equity, and inclusion hires that sucked, those businesses are hurting and they have to fire them all because they're starting to lose. And people who own business at a high level, only color they see is green. This whole back and forth race shit is a poor man's conversation.
Yeah, because you never see wealthy people talking about race.
100%.
Hold on for a second, Trey. You got something to say? Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. This is a wormhole, man. Because us here and most of us in these spaces, we are those regular people who are trying to claw our way to the top.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this is the dynamic of America. America, that top 1%, they put women in front of us in positions where they can wear their business suits and they're not out there lifting the lumber and climbing up, the side of the building, the scale, giant monuments. That's not what they're doing. So it actually makes us, the regular man, the soldier man, continually to fight. We fight domestically more than anything.
Yep.
And it's not, and we would come out better in the long run if we would actually start looking at things for what they are and working together in some capacity. because
Right back. I gotta put the kids to
let's
bed.
just say we blew it all up, and most of us that are not in that 1% can actually be in the top. It's still going to take a diverse group, and it's going to take a group of men who can think logically and without feelings and think future to bring us all together. Other than, and I feel like America, one of its biggest problems that America does, it does not train its youth early. America could change the dynamic. Take the hard drugs off the street. You can't let people smoke marijuana and then lead into the other shit. Take all that other shit off. How's you getting is smoking a blunt, smoking a joint. That's it. They gonna keep alcohol because they love to drink. But you also got to put back these vocational tech skills. We teach in read and comprehension, but the STEM and the math and science is what's going to take us to the future. And they limit that access. They limit that access to the youth. And I think that's what would help if America would bring back these tech, even the skilled tech, the fucking plumber, the carpenter, the person that can, the construction worker, the truck driver, the mechanic. All of those skills play a part in the fabric of keeping America strong. Y'all see America falling apart. Only thing they building is new apartments and fucking jails and prisons. That's it.
And mansions.
They might build a school or what, you know what I'm saying? But
but are you sure it's solid or it's weak?
But that's not coming from the masses of the people. That's coming from small groups. I think if America invests in its youth in that capacity, because they need to be able to compete with the world.
But Trey,
the shit bucket's getting overshitted. There's too much shit in the diaper right now.
You're missing the key point though. Is every time we compare America to anywhere else, it's always a homogeneous group of people. America was never set up to give a shit about any of us. So there's no intent for them. If what they did was, as soon as we freed the slaves, we democratized slavery for everybody.
You're right.
So now everyone's slaves. The only way that you become not a slave is to get wealthy enough so that you don't have to listen to them. Everything that you just said would make a wealthy populace that's well educated, understands how things work. Those are not slaves, sir.
Right. The one thing you say get wealthy. It's a process to that, especially while going in the educational system in America. See, it's a process. You came to a reason after high school, like, oh, this shit can be played different. But if we go for, well, I guess right now and say, okay, you in the position right now. You ain't got no credit. You ain't got no skills. You can read on the 8th grade, 9th grade. You still don't know how to measure, do fractions. You still don't know how to engineer things like Brother Payne. He was the only brother in that whole engineering out of 200. See what I'm saying? Now based off of that, now we need 10 to 15 more of those brothers.
That was back in
doing affirmative action at the height of it. That was affirmative action that got you in there. Your hard work. You showed that your hard work put you in that spot that you belong. Your hard work made you belong, but just that opportunity that you were given.
Cool. The program that got me in there was close to it, but it was an equal opportunity program, which was more economic-based program, which served more blacks because we were on the poor end.
Yeah.
There were white people. There were white people. There were white people on that program as well, depending on their economics. It just wouldn't have been as much as blacks. But you're right. But it's really how you get out, right? Because we had to take all the same exams. We had to have all the same, so that's where it really came in. And if y'all missed it, I told people, you told me that I got that job, that position, because I took it away from somebody else. Well, everybody did. Yeah. Everybody in there took a position for somebody else, and it wasn't all based on merit either. But anyhow, but I wanted to ask you guys this, so before we get to any kind of final thoughts, I mean, what's the solutions? And we don't have to go on along. If we had to say, because I like inclusion, if we had to keep inclusion but got rid of D and E, how will we do something innovative to be inclusive as a society based on merit and have and achieve the D and E through just saying it's better than being a monolith or homogeneous, because that's the way our society is built. Or that's the outcome of what our society looks like.
It is. It's gonna okay, so solutions based is first and foremost, it starts at home. You've got to teach first of all, somebody's gonna have to be the sacrifice for the family. They're not gonna have all the fun. You're not gonna have all the bling. You're gonna have to live unconventionally for a while, maybe. Do some things that other people aren't doing and figure out how money works. And then you have to teach the children. You're not going to fix adults. Adults are stupid. They either get on board and they can get in and tap in. They have brains. They know how to do these things. Or you leave them. You do not put resources in the dud family members. Like you got that drunk uncle, give him a place to crash. Don't give him a dime. If you want to help, give him a place to sleep. No money. That's a draw on your resources. We have to learn how money works, and we have to put people into the job market understanding how money works, so that no matter what, as long as they're making a decent income, and you're starting them off early before they have debt, before they have student loans, a decent income, they will be able to navigate these systems to get where they need to go. Period. Secondly, we have to stop expecting the government that is enslaving us. Those are the people who print dollars that we need. You are all wage slaves. They are the ones who make the money out of thin air that you need. They're not going to teach you how to win at this game. They're not. So that expectation has to go away. There's no incentive to do it. We are all collectively, as citizens of the United States of America, the slaves of the United States of America, because they make money out of thin air and we need it to live. That is slavery for the person who needs the money. There's no incentive for them to fix this, so they're not going to. The best that we can do is get quality education of the basic shit that we should know. The financial piece of it comes at home. The wealthy families that keep their money, that are staying as the ruling class, are teaching their kids themselves, or they're spending a ton of money to send them to college prep schools where that is part of the curriculum because they're grooming presidents and stuff. Gotcha. Sometimes. Well, those are your options. Those are the only solutions that we have in the current reality that we live in. It's on us. It's our responsibility. I didn't just wake up and have somebody go, hey, I'm picking you to do this. I was a knucklehead. I was out here in these streets. I decided that I did not want to continue the trajectory of what my family did when at 16, they lost the generational wealth that was supposed to be coming to me specifically. I did not like that experience. And I was like, I need to do everything that these mofos are not doing. I need to be polar opposite them because this is ridiculous. This doesn't work.
I got you. So, Black David, you got something on that, or on the question I asked? No. What do we do for it, be inclusive without forcing D and E on everybody? How do we have inclusion without mandates?
Simple. Let's stop the partition poetry bullshit. Because I hate to say this, but when you water down things and you make it so simple and easy for everybody else, no one understands what hard work is. I'm a student of hard work. Let people work their way to it. Let them people earn their way to it. Because if they don't have a work ethic, they're not going to know how to keep it. This is what Nigerian, Asian, and Indian people are teaching their kids, how to build a solid work ethic. If you don't have a solid work ethic, this will chew you out. So we're not trying to make it easy for anybody. We're building your foundation first. So let's stop all this participating trophy bullshit. There's winners and there's losers.
Right.
If you lose, learn why you lose. Learn from your lesson and try to get better. Stop trying to ask these people because they're getting weak as hell. That's why foreigners are coming here and taking away the job they cannot get. Because they come in hungry, not like wolves, like savages. So let's stop that bullshit. Okay? Because remember that thing happened to me working in MTA. I got a dumbass bitch trying to take my position. but couldn't do the work that I was doing until she saw me doing it, and I gave it a look. I'm not the one to mess with. Period.
Angry Snowman, what you got on the question there?
I think there's a few things that could be done. You know, first thing, as American citizens, we need to somehow get the education system out of the hands of the federal government and give it back to the states. That way, kids can start being taught healthy competition again, because nobody's competing in schools. Everything's being handed and everybody's being treated as equal, and that's a fallacy that's being taught to them. It's an unrealistic, you know, fantasy land that does not exist in the real world. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. You know, so if we can get the schools actually teaching competition, getting the schools back to teaching, you know, integrity and having, you know, some humility and being, you know, how to strive for better things like it was when some of us were in school, you know, and then back to teaching them things like how to work with money. When I was in school, there was accounting classes. When I was in school, there were business classes. When I was in school, there were shop classes, welding classes, all these classes that you could take that would actually benefit you out in the real world, instead of leaving high school and not having absolutely nothing, you know, no kind of skill at all, even entry level, to be able to start out as an adult in. You know,
Right.
if we could get that back in our education and our learning centers, that would actually benefit our kids. Secondly, you know, parents, like Ray was saying, parents could actually set their kids up to be very successful in life. And it's not hard to do, because look, most adults today are more, you know, aware of their credit and credit score than ever before in any time in life. They understand how important and how much it actually affects their life. So almost everybody from the bottom up has at least a decent credit score to where they can get a credit card. Why aren't you putting your kids as users on these credit cards and not letting them use it? That way you can build their credit up by the time they become an adult. You know, the other thing that you can do, why aren't parents doing like me and my wife are doing? You can get a Gerber full-term life grow-up plan for them that costs a penny a day. It's literally a penny a day until they turn 18. And it's something that they can actually use to borrow from when they become adults, if they need money for a loan for a car or for school books or this, that, and the other. That way they ain't got to take out these, you know, predatory loans, as I call them, from the government that keep them in debt until they're, you know, 20, 30 years after they have their degree or whatever. You know, it's just simple things like this, you know, and parents need to actually start being active and paying attention and be a real role in their children's lives. You know, by the time your child is actually in 2nd or 3rd grade, you should already have a generalized idea of who they are, what they want, and what they want to be in life. And you should be fostering that stuff rather than telling your kids to go away, go do this, go do that, leave me alone. I'm too busy for you. Those kids didn't ask to be here, man. You should never be too busy for your kids. I understand as adults and as parents, life, you know, it gets us, you know, we get caught up in what's going on in life, all the ills and wills and woes and whatevers, you know, but those kids didn't ask to be here. We are the ones as parents that made the act and enjoyed the act that brought them here. Why are we not also enjoying the time we have with them? Because that time we have with them is very short, and then they go out into the world and then they're on their own.
Yep. I got you. Thanks. Hey, go ahead, Trey. What you got? Trey first.
All these guys been dropping some jewels. But I'm gonna tell you, my man Angry Snowman, he's speaking from a father. The greatest dynamic that a child could ever have in his life is a father. He spoke about working together. Hear that, ladies? Create a insurance plan when the baby is 0 to 3. It's the cheapest. You pay $6 a month for the duration of the term of the policy. And then at some point, when your baby's starting to graduate high school, he has a little nest egg, and you can show him how to monitor that nest egg while they're in their primal years, so to help them add, multiply, subtract, divide, and do the parentheses, PEMDAS. It'll teach them that. But it's from a father, and that's why I say, mothers, give your sons and daughters to the father. Give them to him. If he's a good guy and he's working hard, whether he works on the back of a garbage truck or fucking flying jets, let him hang out with daddy 6 months a year. Let daddy take him to school. Let daddy pick him up. Let daddy cook for him. Your child will be a lot smarter. Your child will learn a lot more, be a lot more disciplined, be a lot more self-aware, have a little bit more confidence, competence, and courage. But, so you can't rely on anyone else to do the things you can do for yourself. It's too much information out here now, too accessible for you to not really take advantage of it. It's not. It's too much. And one thing I know Black people can do, we can talk. But if you put together the actions between now, especially if you're young, 21, 22, there's no way you should be on YouTube unless you teach in class or something about how you successfully did something. Other than that, you got to get out here and live in the world. That's your greatest experience. I ain't talking about going from the west side to the east side. I'm talking about looking at your borders of 4 hours in any direction, find the closest city, go check it out, see what skills and things you can learn. Because without a stakehold, without your home coming in these next 5 to 10 years, your ass gonna be a nomad. You ain't gonna have no generational wealth. Stop buying all the Gucci and Fucci and Louis and Bucci, trying to look good, but you have nowhere to keep it. It's all in bags. It's poor. That's poor thinking. So now's the greatest time, man, to take advantage of these fellas. Focus on self, man. You gotta become selfish right now. Focus on self. Save your money. Then when you save it for about a year or so, talk to people like Reckless Ray. Talk to other people that know how to invest and spread your portfolio out. I learned a long time ago, I got my bread and I got my cheese. My cheese, I'm going to spread around. My bread, I want it to mold. That's how long I want it to sit. I don't even want to touch it. It's over. I ain't even seen it. I know it's there. I go look at it, peep at it every once in a while. But my cheese, I spread around. And you don't never know how much cheese I got to spread because I never tell another man. Only the important people that just got their hand out. Nah, keep it moving. All right, Payne. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, I mean, essentially what we just did was like last final thoughts. I didn't think that we would come to a conclusion here, but it seems to me that there's got to be a better way than these mandates that the government is putting out on us. I think that there's a natural rejection of people telling you have to do something under threat. Like the DEI is. That's why the 30 states that have legislation against DEI, that's a significant amount of people in the United States saying that this is not the way to go. Not on the surface of it. I think that if you ask people, most people will say that left up to our own devices, a meritocracy, we could probably find a way to be inclusive based on merit as opposed to based on any of these programs they're talking about. Because somehow when you're capable and you have merit, people recognize that. And if people have something to get done, they're coming to you. They're not, they're going to be seeking you out, especially if you have something to offer. So there's always a calculus to say, hey, listen, this guy's qualified, this guy's intelligent. And I use that quarterback example early on in the show, where at one point, I thought that when there was no black quarterbacks, it wasn't that black quarterbacks couldn't play. It's just that the people who were in charge were more comfortable with their own naturally. So what changed? Nobody really mandated black quarterbacks to start taking those things. I think the coaches, which was still mostly white, started saying, wait a minute, this shit is stupid. This guy's a great player. If I want to win, I'm going to put the best player behind the goddamn center. I don't care what color he is. And that's what started to change. And like this last NFL season, when it came down to the last 8 teams, 4 of the quarterbacks were black, 4 of the quarterbacks were white. And since Patrick Mahomes, who was, mixed race, but, they consider him black, was on the black side, and said, well, this guy's the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. So all of that conversation started to is naturally going away because of merit. Because especially those cheap ass, greedy, freaking NFL owners, they ain't giving nobody a job, man, unless you can win for us. And that's a fact. You don't give a shit what color you are. Can you win for me or not? And they're going to give you some time to do it. So, so I think that, merit is the way to go. That's my thoughts on that. But anybody has any other final thoughts that they want to hit before we cut out?
So I do want to ask Angry Snowman a question. This is something that you allude to all the time. So Angry Snowman, in reference to these type of dynamic situations that affect a lot of us men, and it seems to be across the race diaspora, I would say, do you think there could ever be a time, especially as it pertains to the survival of us as men who want to be men in the world, that people that look like you, have your mindset, could work with brothers like R. Payne, Black David, Reckless Ray, the brothers who are actually out here moving and grooving, are trying to shake things up in the world, just so we all can at least have an opportunity, maybe my small son working with your son, to build a better, stronger America? I know it was a lot, but you think there could ever be a dynamic in that capacity?
Well, I'll first say that I hope there can be. You know what I'm saying? I really do. I believe that the path there, though, is we have to stop allowing, again, I'm going back to our education system. We have to stop allowing our education system to teach our young men, our young boys early on, that one group is a victim and the other group is an oppressor. Because that dynamic right there, early on in life, when they're first, second, third grade, when they're soaking in all this knowledge and information, I think that right there is a key dynamic as to why there is so much vitriol back and forth between them. Because as we start to get older and come into our manhood, then we start trying to challenge each other, and you got one sitting and saying, well, your people did this, that, and the third, and want to hold someone accountable for something that they didn't do, while the other one's like, whoa, I thought we were friends. What happened here? You know what I'm saying? We got to get past this whole dynamic of understanding that things happen in America that suck, but it doesn't have to be who you are. You don't have to wear that as a cloak of identity anymore in this country.
Just before anybody goes on, here's what I want to say on this point. I'm glad we brought it up, Trayford. I think there's some specific things that all men in America can be unified against. It's like marital laws, divorce laws, paternity laws, child support. This shit that has nothing to do with race, that we could all try to get together in terms of changing the way shit goes, so it's not as unfair to men as it is right now. And it has nothing to do with race. And if we can find those common grounds to coalesce around, I think we could put the racial conversation. I mean, because men of all races getting screwed over in divorce court. They're getting screwed over, with paternity fraud, and they're getting screwed over with child support. I mean, there's a lot of shit that alimony and all that kind of shit, where the judges are turning child support into de facto alimony payments and shit like that. There's things that we could change that have nothing to do with race, but it has to do with us being men, heterosexual men, for to be more specific, right? And so, so those are the kind of things, Trey, that I think that we could look for. And what you said, Angry Snowman, I agree with that too. Because you can, lean people one way or the other. And one of the things in the Black community has nothing to do with white folks is that there's too much people who make money off of us being victims. And that's
it's a $1 billion industry now, man.
We need to combat that as much as we possibly can. And we need to start, doing that from the rooftops, just for our own salvation. But anyway, but go ahead, Reckless, or go ahead, Black David. We'll let you get the last word there, Reckless. Go ahead, Black David. You got anything on this last final thoughts?
I ain't got much to say. All I got to say is this: you want to fix your problem? Stop being a punk.
Reckless, I get the final say, but go ahead, Reckless. Go ahead. What you got?
All right, yo, I'm gonna wrap it up like this. Black people, we need to be, and I'm going to give you the spiel that I was given as I was raised by apparently a single mother who apparently can't produce men, even though they produce one that's more manly than most of you. We need to be better. We need to work harder. We need to excel. We need to work with intention. We need to work with the type of reckless abandon of people who live in countries where failure equals death, because we are rapidly getting to a point where it will. The death of your family, the death of yourself, the death of your bloodline. We need to do right by the people who actually experienced racism before us. We need to make those lives mean something. And every one of you failures out there, every day that you fail, every day that you continue to be a loser, you besmirch that legacy, especially those of you who are using it as an excuse for why you personally, who never experienced that, suck. You need to be better. We need to be better at everything. There's nothing that we can't do now. No one's coming to burn our houses down. No one's coming to take your wealth. No one's taking anything from you. There are zero excuses for you to suck. You shouldn't be dysgenic. You should take care of your body. You should take care of your mind. You should take care of your spirit, and you should take care of your finances. And we should excel at all of those things because of everything that we've been through. We're more capable. We're more resilient. Verified, factual. We still exist. We're still here. There's no excuses. Matter of fact, you suck worse now complaining than at any other point in history. So do better.
Hey, listen, with that, gentlemen, thanks for coming up and sharing your thoughts with us on this podcast. Hey, listen, thanks for the chat. You know, it's been lively. One of these days, I'm going to get good at the chatting and talking from the pulpit at the same time. But anyway, with Black David, let's take us out of here, man. Thanks a lot, man, for your help and support. Later, fellas.